Hello, fellow truth seekers. This is Doug Foster coming to you once again. Today I want to talk about Gog and Magog. And we're going to use some scriptures here to show, who they are, where they come from, and who they are today. They're not, a mystery really if you really kind of understand where people come from. The scriptures, lays it out. The table of nations and where they come from, who they descended from, and we can know today. Readily available knowledge about who these people really are. I'm going to start here in Genesis chapter 10. This is where the table of nations is, or the lineage of the nations, and who they descended from. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Gog, Gog and Magog. Gog is a principality. Okay, so what is a principality? There are fallen beings. We call them angels or whatever, but in Hebrew they're malachim, or malach. A malach would be just one, and malachim is all of them collectively. So these fallen entities. Whenever you had the Tower of Babel, or Babel, it's where we get the babbling idiot or whatever, because their languages were confounded there because of what they were doing. Noah and his sons had been commanded to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and to spread out, subdue the earth. That means to spread out and inhabit it. And of course, by the time you get down to Nimrod, which is somewhere around 150 years, 200 years after the flood, he was Nimrod was like the son of Cush, and Cush was the son of Ham. All right, and so by the time you get to Nimrod, and he's a grown man, he begins to. His name means rebel, or rebel, and of course it's talking about against Elohim, and he says, "Come to, let us go down here and build us a city, and a tower to reach into the heaven." So the Father comes down here, Elohim comes down here and sees what they're up to, and says, well, we're going to have to put a wrench in their program here, because, nothing that they imagine to do will be withheld from them, for they are of one mind and one language. So he confounded all of their languages, created 70 different languages, people groups, and they, and of course they still wanted to hang out there, around Babel, and the Father said, no, that's not what I told you to do. I told you to go and subdue the earth. And so they, physically took these people and moved them where they wanted them to be at, and to solidify that, during the time of Peleg, which was about another 150 years or so after Nimrod, his name means divided land. The land broke apart and began to drift, and to form the continents that we have today. There was just one big landmass called, we call it Pangea, and so this is what ended up happening. And So the people of Magog, hold on, folks.
Nelson, you got money for it? That's not enough. I ain't got none. This ain't my money, buddy.
What are you looking for, huh?
Hey, you got the three Charleston shoes?
Around on the other side
Oh,
there.
that's on the wrong side. I can get on Nelson. He's bad about that. You went up to, alright, that's all we got. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Get reordered.
He went up to freaking Medmart here. Last time I took him, he got a bunch of stuff. I'm not paying for his stuff. Where your ho-hos? What's the ho-hos?
They're chocolate cakes.
Huh?
Their ho-hos are hostess cakes.
Are they?
Snack, yeah, snack cakes.
I'm like, what's she talking about? Okay. Let's see. I'll be nice. I'll take you back to the one. He needs to learn that he can't run into the store and just grab whatever he wants. I told him he'd quit going to Walmart, spending his little wasting his money. He had one. That's a washing me call.
Huh?
Ain't that a candy bar?
What's that?
Oh, what? Right here. I got it. I was gonna say, I know what that is, I think. But I need one packet of L&M and Gog 100s. And not Sonoma, then L&M. Okay. Not USA. 3 packs of USA. I can take a pack of L&D. No, let me have a pack of Wings. So yeah, I'll be back in a little bit to pay you. Hey, do you have tubes?
Cigarette tube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your cheapest box in there?
$4.89 plus tax.
Alright, that'll be alright. I'll be back to get you. Okay?
Okay, so you need a package, a box of tubes.
No, I'm good. Cause I had to help. Can I have a receipt? I'll be back to get you. Okay?
Alright.
I'll give you an extra for late fee.
That's alright.
I'll give you. I'll be back.
Alright.
And guys, they're freaking candy bars. That's one thing, Doug, I do really good. That's why I don't go to the grocery store, because the first thing I'm going to do is go and grab me a couple boxes of Debbie's and ice cream. And, I feel better since I don't eat all that junk.
Yeah, well, they say don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Yeah, you can't. I can't go to the grocery store, because if I do, I get a bunch of junk. And stuff I don't need junk.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, the thing's closed at what, 5, Doug?
Huh? Yeah. Well, I think Citibank closes at 4.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome. Sorry about that, folks. Gotta make a living, I guess. But I've tried recording this video. This is the 3rd time now. I was using another kind of recording thing, and I got a phone call, and it cut my video off. And you're supposed to be able to resume, and it wouldn't let me do it. So and then I started it over, and then I got swamped. I mean, a whole bunch of people come in, and I just like, I'm gonna stop. And but anyway, back to the Gog and Magog thing there, about them being spread out. Well, this Gog and Magog is, there's a whole chapter in Ezekiel, chapter 38, where it talks about these. And here's another one in Genesis 10, one of the children of, grandchildren or whatever. I mean, when I say children of Japheth, I'm talking about his whole bloodline. Tarshish. All right, Tarshish was an island. It says right here, it says, and the sons of Javan, which Javan was the son of Magog. All right, and it says, and the son, because it tells you the sons of Magog, or of Japheth, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, which are, now it's telling you the sons of Japheth's sons, so his grandchildren, Ashkenaz, all right, the Ashkenazi Jews, Riphath, Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. All right, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, and their families in their nations. All right, and the reason I'm emphasizing Tarshish, it's believed that Tarshish was England. And how they come to this conclusion is that they found tin, the metal tin, there in the Middle East, and based on the type of tin it was, metallurgists today can identify where metals come from, because there's impurities in there that only come from that place. Other minerals and stuff like that, or other metals that are only found in those places. So, and this particular type of tin came from England. So they know, that Tarshish was, and this is what you got to understand about the land divided up. The continents were closer together than they are today. So it wasn't as far away for people to travel as we have been led to believe, that it's always been like this. Well, it hasn't. And so, they were people still going from one continent to the other readily. I mean, from the Middle East and from Asia and Europe, they were coming over here to North America long before Columbus. That's another great big lie that we've been told. They just don't stop with their lying. Hold on, folks.
How you doing, bud?
All right, how are you?
Good. Same pack of USA Gold 100s. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Move.
And so, you know, they found evidence over here in America, you know, of Phoenicians being over here, Chinese being over here, Egyptians, you know, and because they found, and they tried, you know, the Smithsonian was pretty much created, you know, or taken over and has been used to hide a lot of our history from us, you know, the history, you know, about the giants, about these seafaring peoples going to places where, oh, they didn't know about this place over here. Well, yeah, they did. They knew about this area over here long before Columbus came over here. And so, you know, so these peoples, like I said, like Tarshish, you know, was the tin merchants, and they were from, you know, what's England today.
I guess I'll wake up the lighter too.
Hold on, folks.
He'll do that.
Yeah. I mean, Dad's gonna go get his trailer. We got a flat last night. I left her up to her mom's house.
There you go.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sorry about that, folks, but you know, may end up having to redo this again if I don't put this one out there. But again, you know, so the reason I'm, you know, bringing up these names and these people and where they went is so that we can show, you know, the correlation between these people and what's going on now around the world, what we see, you know, with the realignment of you know, powers, you know, nations, and you know, how it's going to play out. I mean, this is prophetic, and you know, people need to really get that, you know, because if they don't, you know, and like right now, you know, people are so perplexed about all this. What happened? You know, why is all this stuff going on now? Well, you know, in one of my previous videos, I talked about, you know, violating the covenant of Elohim. You know, if we don't keep his covenant, which he made with us, the renewed covenant that was made when with us through Yahushua, through Christ. I mean, you know, it was that covenant, and when we don't, you know, keep that covenant, and that covenant is with mankind, humankind. It ain't just with an individual. I mean, even though we individually have to adhere to that, but this is talking about humanity is a part of that covenant. And if we don't keep it, then there are manifestations that come from our actions. You know, people don't understand the fact that the things that are going on in the world, we brought them to life. We brought them to life. You know, because sin's created right here in our minds, and then it manifests itself in the world. And when it manifests itself in the world, there's consequences from it. And, you know, that's why, you know, where I've done the covenant blessings and cursings, you know, where I showed how after a period of time, the Father will say, you know, okay, you know, I've given you all this time to follow my covenant and adhere to it. And, you know, because you didn't, and this stuff's all manifested into the world, all this sin and all this, you know, corruption has it manifested, we manifested. Yes, there are forces behind it that are influencing people, you know, to do these things, but ultimately it comes from our own heart, and from our own minds that we begin to manifest this stuff. And all they're doing is they're just prodding you, goading you, you know, steering you to what you already are lusting to do in your own mind. You know, it's not like he's telling you to commit this sin, you know, oh yeah, man, you know, putting it in your eye, you know, the idea of that sin in your head. No, we create the sin in our own mind. And then they try to get us to act on it. All right, and that's what they do, is that they you know, they look at our weaknesses and stuff like that, and they keep trying to push us into committing the act, and then that's when things manifest themselves in the world. You know, and so you see the same thing with this stuff over here. Gog is the principality over those people there. You know, Magog and Meshach and Tubal, and then there's others that are over Togarmah and Gomer, and these principalities are fallen beings, but there's not only the fallen beings, there are those who are loyal and obedient to Elohim that are also over these places, that are contending with these entities, because if it wasn't for them, you know, contending with them, restraining them, I mean, man, you know, we'd already done been destroyed ourselves. But they, you know, restrain him. Michael is the restrainer. You know, there's a lot of people who believe it's the Ruach, you know, the Holy Spirit. It's not, that's not what his, you know, function in this world is. He is to convict people, and to convict people in their, you know, their conscience of their sin, and to lead us to truth, and to teach us things, and to give us warning, you know, to tell you, hey man, you need to stop that, you know, and repent. For believers, you know, he's a teacher for believers, and he's a convictor for those who are lost. And so, you know, Michael is the restrainer. He's a warrior prince, and that's what he does. He restrains Hasatan and his minions, and he has an army that works with him, you know, to restrain these entities. Because, you know, we couldn't, you know, if it wasn't for them restraining them, they would decimate us. You know, I mean, you know, and there would be nothing we could do about it. I mean, because they are superior beings to us, you know, in that they've been given knowledge and abilities that we have had suppressed in us. Because, I mean, you know, ultimately, the Father has the intention of making us into B'nai Ha-Elohim, sons of God, and giving us these capabilities and this knowledge and stuff that we are, you know, restrained from having, because we are incapable of handling that kind of stuff. You know, it's like I told Rebecca, I said, you know, we kind of don't understand how Elohim don't bring judgment on man, you know, and people that do all these heinous things. I said, well, you know, that's because he's long suffering. You know, his ways are not our ways. If it was me or, you know, you or anybody else, you know, our patience would run out real quick, and we'd destroy them people if we had the, you know, the capability of doing it, had that kind of power. So, you know, you know, thank Elohim that we don't have that ability, because we would have already probably wiped ourselves out a long time ago. You know, in a fit of rage or madness, you know, we would have, you know, struck out, and maybe we would, you know, rued it, you know, and regretted it afterwards. But that's the thing, is humans don't always act rationally. You know, we act, and then we think about it afterwards, rather than the reverse, thinking about what you know, we're going to say or going to do first, and then, you know, and then taking action, or, you know, thinking better of it. You know, well, you know, maybe I ought not do that. Maybe I ought not to kill off everybody. You know, I mean, then I'll be here by myself. You know, I mean, so, you know, no, that's kind of truncated, but anyway, you know, we have to understand that that's kind of what's going on, is that these people are being driven and manipulated by these entities behind the scenes, and they're drawing, you know, and they're drawing these people to ultimately come to the Valley of Decision in Megiddo over there in the land of Israel, and to make war against Yahushua and against Elohim. That's, you know, their ultimate agenda is that's, you know, but you got, you know, in order for that to happen, you got to get these people, you know, these alignments and stuff, you got to bring them all together. And of course it takes time to kind of maneuver these people into place, because there's other, you know, these entities that are the fallen ones, you know, they're just like human beings in the sense that they don't always get along, you know, and some of them want to, you know, be bigger dogs than what they already are, so they come against each other. I mean, we look at the Daniel, I think it's Daniel chapter 11, where Daniel had been praying and fasting for 21 days, and he was waiting on an answer from the Father. And finally Gabriel shows up, and he said that he had been contending with the prince of Persia for 21 days, you know, that he was, you know, hindering his coming and bringing this message to Daniel. And he said that he had to call on Michael, the chief prince, to come and contend with him against this prince of Persia, which was probably Satan. Hold on, folks. I'm not answering that. But so, you know, this prince of Persia was a fallen being that was over that region. And there was 70 of them that was assigned regions at the table of nations, or at the confounding of the languages at Babel. You know, they have 70 languages and 70 gods with a lowercase g assigned over these people. You know, basically, you know, Elohim said, well, you know, you want to worship these gods, okay, I'm going to put them over you, and, you know, you're going to answer to them. You know, ultimately you're going to answer to me. They're not going to do anything or be able to do anything other than what I allow them to do. And so, but he also assigned his own Malahim to contend with them and to keep them in check. Whenever, you know, he says, I don't want this to happen. And if they tried to do it anyway, then Michael and his army of Malahim would stop them, restrain them. So, and they're still doing that. They're still restraining them up to this point. But there's going to come a time when the restrainer is going to be removed, and they're going to be pretty much allowed to do whatever they want to do, you know, to mankind and to the earth and all that. And it's to gather them together for that great day, the day of Yahuwah. That's, you know, it's all throughout the scriptures, you know, about this day. It's a fearful and dark and you know, terrible day, because that's when his wrath is unleashed. Up until that point, there's judgments, you know, the trumpet judgments and the bowls and the vials. Those judgments are to try and get mankind to repent, and they get worse and worse. But the last day, when he says this is the day, then that's when his wrath is poured out. These things that are judgments, yes, he initiates them, but he's using the earth itself against us. You know, these locust plagues and sicknesses, you know, the diseases and hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes and all these, the earth itself is being used as judgments against us. And so he tries to get us to get the message through these judgments. But whenever those judgments, just don't, get us to repent, corporately, mankind. I'm not talking about, individuals here and there, the remnant. That they will be people that will repent, but it says there's a lot of them that will not only will they not repent, but they will blaspheme Elohim for these things that are coming on them. And they blame him, but the blame falls on us, because it was what I was talking about a while ago about manifesting sin. We manifest this sin and all this stuff is in the world, and there are side effects of it, if you will, or repercussions for it. It's the law. It's his law, the way that it was designed. If you do right, you'll be blessed by the earth. Good crops and healthy animals, and no plagues of locusts and stuff like that, and diseases and stuff. But if you begin to manifest these sins and all this corruption and stuff, then the natural ramification of it is that if you look at all the things we've done, the pollution and the genetic modifications and just on and on and on, the stuff that we do, there's repercussions of it, like over prescribing antibiotics. Now you got resistant bacteria that they don't have antibiotics to treat. Okay, there is the ramification of it. Okay, the same thing with building power plants and stuff, and pumping all this stuff into the air. There's consequences for that. And spraying pesticides and all this kind of stuff, and ultimately insects and all develop because of natural and it ain't evolution, it's adaptation. They're able to adapt to this stuff, and to get to where raid or something don't bother them no more. They just eat it. I mean, and the same with funguses and molds and mildews and all that stuff. They eventually they become immune to pyrethrins or whatever kind of stuff that they're using to kill them. And so now they've gone because again, this forbidden knowledge that they have been being given to them from these entities, putting it in their minds, genetic stuff, and to begin with, they just knew about DNA and RNA and stuff like that, and began to develop the technology where they could decode it. And then they understood about epigenetics, the switches that turn the DNA on and off. Well, that was the Pandora's box. Once they understood that, then there was no restraining what they would be able to do as far as genetically altering. Then CRISPR-9 technology that allows them to, splice genes from one animal into another, from one plant into another, and going back to what was going on before the flood, same thing. They were genetically modifying everything. And it's what's going on now, creating chimeras, and people think that's all mythology. It is not mythology. It happened, and it's happening again. And it is to destroy Elohim's creation. Like I say, go back to the beginning, and he says, and on the second day he created the firmament, and he saw that it was good, and he created the animals and the plants and the trees, and he saw that it was good. Well, everything that Elohim said was good, Hasatan is trying to destroy or corrupt, and that's what and he does it through us. We're still the where it comes from right here. And then it manifests into the world, and then once it's manifested, there's no putting it back. And because of it, I mean, you look at with these mRNA, jabs, the stuff that's coming from that. You know, these spike proteins and all that kind of stuff. You know, they're causing all kinds of issues with people. All right, the ramification of it, because we don't really know. You know, no matter how wise we think we are in our own eyes, you know, it says they consider themselves wise in their own eyes, and they have become fools, because they still really don't understand what they're doing. Oh, they can go in there and do the mechanics of it, but the basic, really what's going on, how this really works, they haven't a clue. And they have no clue. They can't look forward and see the ramifications of what they're doing. Same thing with nuclear power and, you know, nuclear weapons, and they all, you know, on and on and on. Once you open this thing and release it out, you can't put it back. The only one that can is Elohim. And the only way he will is if we repent of it and turn from it. But you think that people in their greed and largesse and, you know, their power hungriness and all that stuff was going to do that? No. And so that's why he tells us to be separate from the world, to come out of the world and not be a part of it. You know, we have to live in the world. I mean, that's, you know, you can't just not be, you know, we're in the world, you know, but he's talking about the system that continues to perpetuate this kind of stuff. And so the final, of course, the final ramifications of this stuff is what's here in Ezekiel chapter 38. And this right here, all you gotta do is cut on the news and, you know, and do a little digging in it, you know, get some real news. I mean, I'm not talking about the mainstream media, because they're propagandists, and that's all they are. They're gonna put the narrative out there. But if you can find some really good, reliable sources of news, you know, Dr. Steve Turley, and, you know, the Duran, and you know, some people like that are really, you know, do the deep dive and dig into this stuff, then you'll begin to see that it's fulfilling what's here. I'm going to read some, you know, a couple different places there in 38. But it says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man," talking to Ezekiel, "set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him." All right, and it says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords." Now, of course, today, you know, it's not going to be swords and bucklers and all that kind of stuff, but they do wear armor, body armor, you know, helmets, but they're using guns, you know, and advanced weaponry, but this, you know, it means the same thing. And it says, "Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet." All right, Persia is modern day Iran. All right, and of course Ethiopia is still Ethiopia. You know, they're one of the few countries, in Libya, which Libya had been, I believe, in ancient times was known as Phut, P-H-U-T. But Libya, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah. Okay, Gomer is believed to be the Germanic people. You know, Germany and Austria, you know, Hungary, and these are all Germanic, Slavic peoples. All right, and also, you know, Togarmah is believed to be, I think, Turkey. And you know, Togarmah, the north quarters, and of course Turkey is, you know, in the north area, and you know, north of Africa, north of the Middle East, and so are, you know, the Russians, you know, the Slavic people. You know, Europe as a whole is except where it kind of swings down like that, is in, you know, north. I mean, the Nordic people and the Germanic people and the Slavic people, you know, are all kind of to the north there. And it says, be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou guard unto them. So, you know, Russia's, you know, Gog and Magog is sort of a guard over them, you know, or, you know, kind of going to be drawing these people in, and they're going to be sort of the ringleader of it, you know, the main group. And it says, after many days thou shalt be visited in the latter years, talking about now, thou shalt come into the land that I brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many peoples against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. You know, and of course, I think there's still a few things that's got to take place yet before you know, they really become a full-blown alliance that goes down and attacks Israel. You know, and I mean, they just go through like a swarm of locusts down through there. One is I think it's Psalm 83 war that's going to take place between Israel and those people who are around it. You know, the Arab nations that are around Israel, Jordan, and, you know, Syria and Lebanon, and you know, their traditional ancient, you know, Edom and Moab, and all of those traditional ancient enemies of theirs, is going to make a play on them, and they're going to defeat them. Of course, they're going to suffer, you know, pretty bad, I mean, through it. But in the end, they're going to come out and they're going to expand their territory, and they're going to be able to take down all the fences and the walls that they've got built around. I mean, basically, Israel's become like a fortress of walls and fences. And checkpoints and, you know, stuff like that, you know, pretty much all the way around it. And they've got the, you know, some of the greatest, longest border walls of any people in the world. But it says, let's go down among those who are at safety, you know, and you know, who dwell safely without gates and walls, and take a spoil. And that's on down here, you know. But it says to come down there, you know, they shall dwell safely. See, they'll be dwelling safely at this point. You know, they'll think, well, you know, we've conquered all of our, you know, surrounding enemies that are, you know, against us, and now we can, you know, kind of relax and be at peace and safe. And well, when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes upon them. It says, thou shalt say, or it says, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. You know, he'll be, you know, the leader of this group, you know, will be, you know, I don't know if it's Vladimir Putin or who, but, you know, he'd be a good candidate. Will have a mischievous thought, you know, to go down there. And it says, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. Now, right now, that couldn't apply to Israel today, because, like I said, they got walls and fences all around them. To take a spoil and to take a prey, and to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations which have gotten cattle and goods and dwell in the midst of the land. I mean, Israel is a very prosperous place, and I mean, they've turned the deserts out there into gardens, and they produce a lot of food that, you know, is consumed by the Europeans. I mean, you know, if it wasn't for their food production, I mean, the Europeans wouldn't have near the variety of stuff that they have. But not only that, Israel has discovered huge oil and natural gas, reserves over there. I mean, off their coast. I mean, tremendous amounts. And even there's been talk about them building a pipeline over to Europe. So that they wouldn't be so dependent on the Russians and all. But there's, forces against that. Because again, I mean, they're going to use any method and means to bring about this agenda that they have for world domination and destruction, and which is pitting people against each other. That's what I was saying a while ago. These entities, they don't always see eye to eye either. So sometimes they'll go against the other ones and try to overtake them or be at odds with each other about resources and that kind of stuff. And it says Sheba and Dedan, which is Dedan is Saudi Arabia, and Sheba, which is a North African country, and the merchants of Tarshish. There we go again. Tarshish is also a descendant of Japheth, which is believed to be England, because, like I said, they discovered tin over there in the Middle East, and they know that tin came from England. And they call, and in the Old Testament, where it talks about the tin of Tarshish, these goods that come from Tarshish, metals, a lot of metals and stuff that came from there. And they found these ancient tin mines over there in England that that tin that they have over there in the Middle East, because they still have representative pieces of it, that they've dug up archaeologically and stuff like that. They can analyze it and they can determine where it come from. Because it'll have other stuff, constituents in it, other metals, trace metals and stuff like that that only exist in that place, in that kind of a matrix. So they know that it came from there. So now they know that England was ancient Tarshish. And the Phoenicians was big traders, man. I mean, they went all over trading, and they came over here. They were over here trading, like probably with the Native Americans and stuff, and also with the Nephilim that were over here. So, but anyhow, so there you have and Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish with all the young lions thereof. Now it's talking about Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States, the young lions. The England's always represented as a lion, and it's talking about the young lions, which are her offspring, the offspring of the lion. So it's talking about the former colonies of England. Like I said, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the Bahamas, and the United States. Thereof shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, in that day when my people of Israel dwelleth safety, shalt thou not know it? Talking about Gog, the principality. Yeah, he knows. He knows when they're down there dwelling safely. And so he stirs up the people of Magog and all them, puts it in their heart, their mischief, to go down there and take a spoil. Look, hey man, they're wide open. Let's go on down there and rack up. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts. Well, you draw a line straight up from Israel north, and you come into Russia. And all of those peoples that are in that whole area again, Turkey, the Germanic people, the Slavic people, they all are in that northern part. It says, many people with thee, it says, and thou shalt come from the place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee. So it ain't just talking about God, Magog. It's talking about all these companies of people that are going to be coming down there with them. And thee and all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land. See, the thing is, what people don't understand is, yeah, maybe Israel is over there occupying that land, but that land is Elohim's land. His special land, that he took for possession for himself. And so anybody that goes against it, they're going against him and his land. Doesn't matter who's actually living on it. Anybody can go, can move in there and start claiming it as their land and say that they're this or that, but it doesn't make no difference. It's his land. And that's what brings his wrath out, is, them attacking his land and trying to take possession of it. And he says, and it shall be in the latter days, and they come against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O Gog, before their eyes. He's gonna, make an example out of them before Gog. But that's, where we're at. We see the gathering of them over here. Hold on, folks. Hello.
Hi. I'm in the middle of nowhere, aren't I?
Hey, yep, you're in Pluto.
Do you have diapers any chance?
Yeah, I do. This way, huh? Hey, how you doing, Sam? All right.
Make it work.
Yeah, that'll make it work. Let's see. I may have some kind of liquid soap or something like that too.
I have a bottle of water, I'll spray him down.
He'll be all right.
We're all the way back at the micro tower, and I don't want to drive all the way back there right now.
If you don't mind the recycle, but
Nope.
I recycle in bags.
Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Got a Coke Ranger?
Huh?
Got a Coke Ranger?
Out of everything, man.
Damn. Pack smokes.
Is this all cash or?
It won't be EBT, but card and then some cash for cigarettes. So.
Well, you want to do cigarettes first?
Yeah, can I do that, please? Sorry. While you're opening, you got $1.25?
Yep.
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, I'm back. I know this is going pretty long, but you can't really go on a subject like this here without it going kind of long, because you got to show the correlations, you know, and the biblical text that you know point this out. But anyway, you see, you know, the Father's doing this. He's doing this, you know, allowing this to bring these people there to make an example out of them to the rest of the Gentiles, you know, about coming against His land. And you know, because He will on this occasion, He's going to, you know, He's going to intervene and you know. Push them back, but you know that because of it, though, you know, because of their when you know read in Revelation, because it talks about this in there. When you read in there, it talks about how when they get pushed back like that, the West will take credit for it. You know, that we did this. You know. Well, then it says that the man of perdition will hear troubling news coming out of the east. The kings of the east are on the march. That's because of gathering all these people to come there to the Valley of Decision, you know, the Valley of Megiddo, where we get the word Armageddon from, Armageddon. You know, it's a flat plain, and there's been a whole lot of, you know, world-altering battles fought there historically. So, you know, the Valley of Decision, and he draws them all down there to plead with them, you know, and then ultimately destroys them because they, you know, they are being driven demonically and satanically to make war against Elohim, and of course, that's when the firmament will be rolled back like a scroll, and pieces of it will be falling on the earth, destroying the, you know, the cities of the world, and every eye will see Yahuwah and Yahushua, and I mean, it will be for those who are lost, it will be a terrible, terrible. You know, they'll be begging for the rocks to fall on them and hide them from Him who sits upon the throne. Well, ultimately, what I'm trying to tie in here is if you look at what's going on over there in Ukraine, you know, with Russia, this is the beginning of the alliance, where they're drawing together, and you know, a lot of them are going to be people that have been, you know, aligned with us, America, and with NATO and all. In the European Union, but if you look at Germany, I mean, Germany is one of those countries over there that's, you know, pulling away from us. You know, they, you know, even though, of course, that's because of these devils up here in Washington. you know, because Donald Trump warned the Germans over there, you know, warned them and told them about being dependent on Russia for natural gas and stuff like that and energy, that exactly what's going on right now would happen. And so Germany is, you know, looking at it like, well, man, you know, even though they're all over there, you know, condemning, you know, what Russia did and all that, but we forced them to that point. I mean, it's all by design, man. These principalities behind it all are the ones that are stirring them up against them, you know, and it's you know, and the Father allows it because this is, you know, it's going to match what's in here, and of course, in order for that to happen, other things have to happen to push it to, you know, where you have this alignment of Gomer and Togarmah and Meshach and Tubal and their peoples. You know, the Germanic and the Slavic and the Turkish and the Persians, you know, and Libya and Ethiopia and, you know, all these companies, you know, of peoples that will align themselves together. And of course, Russia and China, you know, they call it the Sino-Soviet Pact, or, you know, the Sino-Russian Pact, where they've made an agreement with each other that if for some reason or other, either one of them winds up in a conflict with the West, and they began to, you know, get the better of one or the other, then the other one's going to come to their aid. And that's why in Revelation it says that the Western leader, this Antichrist or whatever, hears troubling news coming out of the East, for the kings of the East are on the march. And they've made provision to be able to go right into the Middle East. They've built this Belt and Road initiative that they started, and it, you know, it was, oh, it's all about trade. Well, no, really, in truth, yeah, they'll use it for trade, but the real purpose of it is to give them a readily and fast means of reaching the Middle East. And the same thing is going on here with Russia, you know, is that having access to Ukraine gives them, you know, otherwise they'd had to use the Black Sea or something like that as a way to get over to the Middle East. And, you know, that's logistically kind of tough, you know. I mean, you got to have a lot of ships and you know, to move men and equipment and all that. As where if you have a land access, then it's a whole lot easier. You just, you know, start a column and just move them on in. And because of our people here at Washington, the policies and the things, the actions that they've been taking, you know, they're the ones that are pushing these powers toward Russia. And like I say, I ain't no big fan of Putin or the Russian, you know, Putin especially. I mean, he's a tyrant, like, you know, a lot of these political leaders. But, you know, at the same time, I can understand, you know, they're pushing NATO right up to my doorstep, you know, and of course Ukraine is probably the most corrupt place on the planet, and, you know, they build all these bioweapons labs over there, and they claim, oh, they're, you know, for communicable diseases. No. Man, I mean, you know, our government, you can't believe nothing they say. They lie out of both sides of their mouth, and the propaganda news does the same thing for them. You know, just pushes their narrative. But not only that, they were, you know, planning on moving missiles and stuff in there, and you know, I mean, I can't say I blame Russia. You know, I mean, for, you know, pushing back. I mean, what would we think, you know, if they decided to go down into Mexico or to Canada or something and start putting missiles in there, or start building biological weapon labs in there right on our doorstep? I mean, we wouldn't like it either. And so we see it, though. I mean, we see this alliance beginning to form, and so that should tell people that we're coming to the end of it, and that we should repent. So I'm gonna cut it off here because, man, I've gone way beyond what I wanted to do on this here. But of course, that's because people coming in and stuff like that, and me having to wait on customers. But you know, I just want to say I love you and I appreciate you, and I hope you'll be blessed by what I've had to say. I went into a lot of different things, but you know, trying to tie it all together so that you can understand that this stuff has all been prophesied. And so with that, study, be a good Berean, you know, don't take what I say, you know, as absolute fact. Do your own study, you know, be like I say, be like the Bereans. Take what I say with openness of mind, but search the scriptures to see whether these things be true. And continue seeking truth. Have a good day. Bye.